Perfect. Okay. Awesome. My name's Tyler Kirby, and I'm super excited to give this presentation. I chose to do learning, innovation, and creativity in organizations just because this topic really resonated with me, and um, it just showed me when we went over it a few weeks ago that this one seems to have the biggest results, in my opinion, when it comes to success in organizations. And so I want to dig a little deeper and see what I could find. And so to go over the first one, learning, I was kind of cool seeing how much learning is used in learning, um, innovation and creativity. Because in order to be able to be creative and to use that creativity to make new products or make new solutions to solve things or innovation, right? It it was really cool to see how much you have to actually know how to do things in order to be creative or to solve problems. And so in a video that I watched um, that is connected with the course, it talked about the brain theory. And one part of the brain theory that I thought was really cool is when the part of the brain gets damaged, that other pieces of the brain can actually step in and help. So that the brain is able to what we call in our kind of words when it comes to organization as cross training, is that if one part of the brain gets damaged, other parts of the brain can step in and help because they know what to do. And that is really big when it comes to being able to keep an organization going, because sometimes people just are really good at one thing, which is awesome. But if that person becomes so reliant by the company, and if that person leaves, it could really be a negative effect on the organization. And so being able to cross train and have a bunch of different people know how to do a bunch of different things is really successful when it comes to keeping our organization going and being successful. And I also learned through all this that experience is huge when it comes to learning. It's huge when it comes to being creative, when it comes to innovating, to solving problems. Is having experience. You can know things from reading in books or just from kind of common sense, but there's a lot of skill and power when it comes to experience. There's this thing that we call program decision making and non-program decision making. Program decision making is when decisions, kind of like situations, arise pretty constant, and so there's like set rules and decisions to make to solve those. And that one doesn't really necessarily need a lot of experience to go, or a lot of innovation or creativity to solve. But when it comes to non-programmed ones, where situations or conflicts arise that don't happen often, and it's like, oh crap, now how do I solve this? Having experience can really help people to solve these problems, to get past roadblocks in different types of organizations. And so experience is huge when it comes to that. And so that was really cool. It's something that I learned. And so when it comes to learning, after you learn this stuff, you have to be creative with it. You have to use your knowledge and what you've gained. And so there's in that same video I was talking about prior, they use this analogy of a lizard, which I thought was really cool, because they talked about how most things work in a single loop, meaning when it comes to a lizard, let's say the lizard, I'm using the exact same knowledge analogy, just a little bit probably paraphrased, but the lizard hops on a rock, and if the rock is hot, then the lizard will hop off, right? And so first, the lizard senses the environment, right? He senses what's around him. He compares the environment to the norms of life. Like, okay, if I'm up here long, I'll die. The norms, and so then the third one is he makes a corrective action. So he hops off the rock. That's a single loop. In our brains, we have this thing called double loop learning. And that is super cool when it comes to an organization helping it to become successful. Because a double loop does those exact same things. It senses the environment, it compares the environment with the ethical norms, but then it questions the norms. And so it makes it be like, okay, this is what we've always done, but is it the right thing? That's something really powerful with double loop learning that we're able to use. And then the same last one is make corrective action. And I think that's really powerful because change is coming. Change is ahead. And when it comes to an organization that wants to be successful, they have to learn how to change when the world has to change when people's interests change. Or whatever the purpose of the organization is, change is always happening. And so in order to be successful, they have to be able to change and have that double loop learning and be able to be creative. And being creative is just, it allows the organization to be able to question the norm and ask questions and to improve, to allow when change does come to go better and not to take a step back. And so innovation is that ability, like, okay, we've learned a lot, we creative, we have these ideas that we want to do. Now let's implement it. Let's create these new things, let's solve these problems, right? And so I want to illustrate that through this 6-step decision making. I thought this was really, really cool and really beneficial as a way to show how learning, having experience, learning and creativity and innovation can really, really help an organization to really, really improve. And so the first one is recognize that decision needs to be made. A really, really good manager or a really, really good person involved in an organization, if they're able to recognize that a decision needs to be made, like, okay, there's a problem and this problem needs to get fixed, addressing that is super crucial. Some people are very, very good at wanting to avoid conflict or change or whatever it might be. So sometimes people have a really hard time recognizing that there's a problem. And that is huge when it comes to success, when it comes to using learning experience and then being able to innovate and make that is you got to recognize, hey, something's up, something's up. Okay. And then number two is you got to generate multiple alternatives. This is where the creative and learning comes into play. Okay. So now I've learned all these things through either experience, education, through cross training, whatever. And now let's be creative. Okay, what are some ways we can solve this problem? Don't rush this process. Talk to people. Figure things out. Figure out what you can do to solve this problem by coming up with a bunch of different alternatives, and then analyze the alternatives. Be like, okay, so here's all these alternatives. What's going to be the possible outcome for each alternative, right? What are we going to do to capitalize? Which one's going to be not capitalize? That was the wrong word. Maybe what are we going to do to solve this problem with the best choice, right? Which is going to get us in the best possible position. And so that's really crucial. Remember, don't rush this process. Really think about, talk with people, get different ideas on which different alternative can create which different outcome. Um, and so the next is you got to select one of those. Select one of those. You can't, I don't know, maybe in particular situations you can pick multiple one, but for the most part, you just got to pick one. And this is where actually I'm going to take a little side note. This is where a disadvantage can come into play, because sometimes when it comes to making decisions like this, people make these decisions and then it's not the right one. And some people are like, oh crap. And they just still go with it because they're afraid to understand, like, we need to fix this problem. And so that can sometimes be a disadvantage when it comes to having an organization with learning, creativity, and innovation, is that people have this and then they actually don't back down, whether it's pride, whether it's they're scared, whatever it may be. That is one of the factors of why we shouldn't do it. But as we're going to continue talking, the why we should, I think, outweigh the why we shouldn't. And so after we've selected an alternative, we got to implement that alternative. Just like I was saying, we got to go full hand. We got to do it. And then we have to evaluate, make sure it's the right decision. Okay. Did that go the way I wanted it to? Did that have the outcome I thought it would have? And if it doesn't, this is when we switch it all back. And maybe we have to go back all the way to step one again. But a successful manager or person involved in an organization who's involved in this process will be able to understand that and will be able to go back and do it. And that is what's crucial. And that if they're able to go back, the success is crazy. It is crazy incredible. And so creativity is a crucial part for business. Crucial part. As I was saying, change and being able to improve and get better is you have to be creative. You have to be. And the companies who do this, who are innovative, who are creative, they actually tend to be the best. And they don't really care necessarily how the competition is doing. Obviously, they do a little bit, but what they care about is how they're doing, if they're improving, if they're going up, and they're able to do that through innovation, through creativity. And just kind of to sound like a broken record a little bit, innovation is the key, is an important source of growth and key determinant of competitive advantages for many organizations. Being able to implement what we understand, what we've learned, and then be able to be creative and then implement those creative ideas and thoughts to make the company better. And that is way, way powerful when it comes to making an organization successful. That's what I learned in a short 15 minutes that I was able to present this. 10 to 15 minutes. That was powerful to me, and that is what I learned. And I hope that we can that I can keep learning and keep growing and keep understanding these different ways to help organizations. And so I'm thankful I was able to do this. Here's my works cited. And yeah, thank you.